Shalom from Israel. This is a serious time as right now we are witnessing one of the greatest historical turning points in the legal justice system in the United States of America that could affect the rest of the world. That's Roe v. Wade. And stay tuned on VFI News. Proverbs chapter 6 has these very poignant words. We must take note of them. For there are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that run swiftly to evil, a false witness who gives false testimony, and one who stirs up discord among brothers. And so it is that right now we are looking at America, particularly the United States, where over 64 million babies have been aborted since 1973 Supreme Court decision called Roe versus Wade. Now, the interesting thing is that actually Jane Roe was not her real name, and the real person was Norma McCorvey, and she never had an abortion herself. In fact, the claims that she had been raped were also untrue, for the sexual contact she had was with her boyfriend, but she was used by a lawyer who herself had an abortion and never took the witness stand in court. Yes, that's true. Can you believe that something like that could actually change the life of 64 million babies who have been murdered? That's right. That's correct what I'm saying. For the Bible talks about conception from when that child is already a fetus in the womb. It has a heart, it's beating. You can see it now on ultrasound. And I want to share something of a background, because today's Planned Parenthood movement, which provides these abortion services in the United States and really doesn't provide much in the way of counseling for adoption as an option, which is a great option if somebody does not want to keep their child, their baby. There are many others that would love to adopt that child. But Sanger, Margaret Sanger, was the founder of Planned Parenthood. She's kind of like the mother of the organization. She's no longer alive. Sanger was a staunch supporter of eugenics, which was a popular method of supporting selective breeding that often targeted people of color. Yes, she was a racist. Let's put it bluntly. So that's why I find it so hard that not all, but most of the Democratic Party in the United States and Republicans, there are many, and many others who are independents, are so pro-abortion, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. Because the lady who led the way in this modern era, Margaret Sanger, could have been likened to really Adolf Hitler. And this is the words she said, quote, "It is said that the Aboriginal Australian, the lowest known species of the human family, just a step higher than the chimpanzee in brain development, has so little sexual control that police authority alone prevents him from obtaining sexual satisfaction on the streets." This she wrote in an essay entitled, quote, "What Every Girl Should Know." Can you believe it? And people are running to Planned Parenthood, which targets mostly the African American community, the Hispanic community, and people of color all over the United States, as well as feeding the abortion monster system throughout the nations. Sanger's writings contain support for stopping the reproduction of the unfit. That's exactly correct. That is who she was. That is the spirit that's infused into Planned Parenthood. Sterilization programs carried out by the Nazis. She was also a featured guest of the Ku Klux Klan. So when the left-wing radicals in America accuse Republicans and white people of being these racists, I think the shoe is on the other foot, that actually the racists are those that are performing these abortions, as it's not protecting the African American community, the Latino community, and people of color. What's worse now is that also we're seeing politicians in America, like Nancy Pelosi from California, where she is in charge of the area of San Francisco, which has drug addicts and homeless amongst the highest rates in the entire United States. Nancy Pelosi said of the pro-life Republicans that they are a cult because they don't support killing babies. I mean, this is incredible for somebody who claims to be a devout Catholic, but who also believes in late-term abortions and calls it sacred ground. How can you call yourself a Catholic out there and call for aborting babies? I don't understand that. She also, as a California Democrat, criticized pro-life Republican leaders as many anticipate the U.S. Supreme Court will eventually overturn Roe versus Wade. Now, let's get this straight, because the misinformation is out in the media, other than Fox News, which is actually bringing more accurate reports. Nobody has talked about totally overturning Roe v. Wade. What the Samuel Alito Supreme Court initial draft is talking about is returning the rights to each individual state in the United States to decide that decision for their own states, whether or not to promote abortion, as opposed to what the Democratic left-wing radical extreme are trying to do, to pass a law that would force federal tax dollars to provide abortion across every state in America, and that the taxpayers would pay for it. That's just absurd. So as she's accusing the Christian right, the evangelicals, the Republicans of being a cult, actually she's representing a culture of death. And the Bible's very quick to condemn that. So it really describes who she is and what she represents. Because if the U.S. House passes a radical abortion bill, it will give and legalize abortions for basically any reason up to birth and end bans on sex selection abortions and partial birth abortions, basically defending men who might become pregnant. Go and figure, or read Romans chapter 1 while you're at it. A Democratic senator named Tina Smith is quoted as saying, "Killing babies and abortions is good for the economy." God help us all when we see that. But thank God for other senators like Mike Lee, who said to overturn Roe because a preborn child is a distinct, unrepeatable human life. Amen to that. Now, we have to understand something. I once knew a Jewish doctor named Bernard Nathanson. He performed up to around 75,000 abortions when Roe v. Wade was passed. That's right, a Jewish doctor named Bernard Nathanson, living in the region of New York where I met him anyways. He was known as the Scraper. He aborted even his own child, and he made over $20 million in the abortion mill industry. Now, to be quite honest with you, when I met him, he was quite depressed. What happened was a heart change to Bernard Nathanson, because after the development of the advanced ultrasound, he collapsed with grief in tears when he saw babies being sucked out of the womb and being dismembered from each body part that they had. And this is what he said: "I knew in my heart what I was doing was wrong." In 1994, Nathanson converted. He converted to Christianity, and he died of cancer finally in 2011. I met him probably about a year before that. He was grieved over the murder of 75,000 aborted babies, but he was repenting for that. He had an 8-point strategy, he told me, to propagandize abortion, and he said he couldn't understand why it was so easy to pass abortion laws in America, but so hard to turn it back even after the advancement of ultrasound technology. So it shouldn't surprise us why there is this kind of judgment falling upon America as we see U.S. drug overdoses in 2021 going over 107,000 people dying. The economy and inflation is rising. There's a shortage right now of baby formula on the shelves across America. They say there's a 40% shortage going on. So you wonder why America may be facing judgment of sorts. I'm here to tell you, people, that we have come to a crossroads in the history of the United States of America. And it just doesn't affect America, it affects the nations of this world. A new Rasmussen poll shows more Americans want Roe v. Wade overturned than they want to keep the infamous Supreme Court decision in place that allows abortions up to birth. Abortion activists have engaged in violence, vandalism, and heated protests in response to this recently leaked draft opinion from Samuel Alito. Somebody leaked it. And it also shows that America, for the most part, wants to turn back the pages of history and protect human life. Now that's going to be a state-by-state decision, but let's throw it back to the states to decide. The left has been at war with Christian America for decades now. This said by a dear writer named David Horowitz. And I'm sure you're well aware that Roe v. Wade was one of the left's most significant victories, not just in their war on Christianity, but their war on the truth. And on Mother's Day this year, of all days, pro-abortion extremists descended on churches in the United States to harass and intimidate Christians. You can see this on social media, how masses were interrupted, how even pro-life counseling centers have been burned, such as what happened in Madison, Wisconsin. And now these protesters are turning to violence and verbal violence anyhow outside the homes of Supreme Court judges that could actually overturn Roe v. Wade. Again, this whole trial was based on a false premise. We know that there's human life now through science and evidence. From the moment of conception, a fetus has the DNA of a person, and we need to do all we can through the VFI News to spread the truth. And I'm interested in hearing your comments. I understand there are many people, many women out there who don't want to keep their unborn children because of maybe an economic reason, but the initial reason was in case of rape or incest. Well, those cases are less than 1% of all abortions going on. So if nothing else, let's save 99% of the babies out there, even though I'm 100% for the unborn child. You know, if somebody can be convicted of manslaughter or murder when an unborn child is in the womb of a mother and they're killed in a car accident, so what's the difference then when hands perform evil and dismember an unborn child that we can see now in the womb? So listen, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, use whatever birth control methods you need to. If you don't want to get pregnant, then do what's right. And on the other hand, it's also important for you to understand, if you are pregnant out there, there's somebody that will love your child, and you can give that child to a proper adoption agency and let another family raise that child. But please, do not murder or kill the child. This is an important day that in Judaism we say l'chaim, to life, l'chaim. So let's all celebrate life. God bless you and shalom from Israel. This is VFI News.